What's up YouTube, it's TinkerForge, and today we are here with a Tinker tutorial. So I got this idea because this patch to me feels like one of the best Tinker patches since that change he got, where he can't rearm items anymore. The map is really good for him, the lane is really good for him, his item timing seemed to be perfect for the meta. And we're going to get into all that stuff, but the goal of this tutorial is to get people who want to maybe learn Tinker into the very basics. So we're going to go over how to play the lane, how to use your abilities effectively, your best and worst like hero matchups, and the item build that you are going to want to end up going, and a few other small things with that as well. And I'm in a demo lobby right now because before we get to stuff like laning and fighting, we need to cover the most important thing on Tinker and the most important ability he has, which is farming with March of the Machines. So we're going to first go over the basics of this skill, and then I'm going to explain how to use it to farm. So the first thing you need to know about March of the Machines is that when you cast it, the width of March of the Machines is actually a little bit longer than the length. So if you're trying to hit, say, two camps that are close to each other, you want to march perpendicular to them. And there's also another reason we're going to do that we're going to explain in a second, right? So March of the Machines spawns a bunch of robots, right? They all do individual damage, and they all move in the same line at a set speed. I think it tells you the speed on here. Okay, it doesn't, but they move at a set speed, right? And anything that touches them, the robot will kill itself and do damage to it. So this is one of, if not the most ridiculous, aside from Alchemists maybe, and like Meepo, probably one of the most ridiculous farming abilities in the game, right? Because Tinker at level 7 can kill any size stack, 1 March kills creep waves, 2 March kills any camp that is an ancient camp, pretty much. And it's just crazy. So when you're casting March, you want to think of it as like traffic, right? And when you're running through traffic, usually you want to try and avoid the cars, but here you want to make your enemies hit as many cars as possible when they're running through traffic, right? Like, see this? These are all cars. And we want enemies to run through those cars, right? So if an enemy is running away from you, say an enemy is right here, right? And they're running this way. You would want to cast March going this way, because then they'll be having to run into traffic to escape you, right? Creeps are a little bit different because creeps can't change their direction, right? So generally with creeps, the way to hit the most cars when running through traffic is to run perpendicular to the traffic, right? Run perpendicular to the cars. So when you're marching down a creep wave, you want to make the creeps run perpendicular to your march. And so that's the basics of casting March. You want to get, and we're gonna get more into that when I actually get into a game and I show you one of the most recent replays I've seen. Because guys, like, I'm not kidding. Like, this is an insane Tinker patch. We're gonna show like my win loss and how well I'm doing on him too. But this is, if you can master this hero in this patch right now, I think you're gonna farm MMR like no problem at all. Especially if you're like below 7k. So we're going to bring up a little bit of a graphic here, right? And this is how you're going to use March pretty much throughout the entire game. So the first rule of casting March is that if there's a creep wave to March that your like carry doesn't want to farm, like, don't steal farm from your carry, don't grief your team, right? But say creep waves will almost always take priority. Because the thing about jungle creeps is, like, these creeps aren't going anywhere, right? These creeps aren't going anywhere. It's about priorities. These creeps are going to sit here no matter what. But lane creeps are going to die, right? So you want to get them off the map as quickly as possible, and then that opens you up to go to other camps. So that's rule 1, right? Rule 1 is always kill lane creeps first, aside from very, very, like, extenuating circumstances that you don't really have to worry about when you're learning the basics. So we're going to bring up a helpful little graphic I made that's going to show the best places to use your March at. So in red are all of the camps where you can farm not only an ancient camp, but another camp along with it. And this is the best place, aside from lanes, to cast your March at, right? Because it's the most gold possible. So these are the best places to do it. And that's why the map is so good for Tinker this game, is because you used to only have 2 of these, right? You used to have 1 triangle on Radiant, 1 triangle on Dire, and that was it. But now you essentially have 2 triangles. And your carry's not going to want to farm this shit on the bottom, right? Because your carry's going to be weak at level 7, right? But when you're level 7 and you have like a Kaya and some mana items, you can farm this stuff no problem. So top and bottom Ancients with this camp, by the way, this small camp gets stronger as the game goes on and ends up being a large camp later on, which is even better for you. But these are the places that you want to be. Now, early game, you're not, like very early game, like pre like your item timing, your first item, you're not going to want to always march Ancients because it takes 3 or 4 marches to do it, which is another thing we're about to talk about is march efficiency, right? So you're going to want to stick to the blue category, which is the OK category, right? So these are like large camps that are coupled with a medium camp. And these are all close. And by the way, any camp that's circled means that the march is like, you can cast 1 march and both camps will be aggroed and run into the march. That's what that means. So the blue camps are going to be your bread and butter for the very early game. And you're going to want to stack the red camps. So the blue camps are these camps here, right? They're very close to the tier 2 tower. We're going to explain that when I get into the game. And these camps over here. So these are your bread and butter for the early game. And then the cringe camps, you don't really want to care about these. I mean, your carry's going to want to farm this stuff most of the time anyway, early game. And like, unless you can farm, a lot of the time you can farm this large camp with the creep wave. You can farm the large camp with the creep wave that's next to it, right? But most of the time, you just want to stick to the blue and red categories, right? You don't want to farm. You don't want to be cringe. You don't want to farm the cringe category. That's game cringe, right? Don't do that shit. So this is the March pattern you want to use, right? You want to do creeps first. Lane creeps always take priority, and then you want to stack the best camps for when you're strong enough to take them, and then stick to the blue camps for early game, for the most part. So now we're going to discuss what I call the Tinker cycle, TM, right? So early game, when you are casting March and you're farming with it, and this is another thing we're going to discuss soon about what this means for your hero, but early game, when you are casting March, going back and forth from the fountain to the jungle, you want to minimize your fountain time, and there'll be a few ways you can do that, and you want to maximize your jungle time. And you're going to buy items that help you do both of these things, right? So, when if you're trying to maximize your time in the jungle, that also means you want to be minimizing the number of marches you have to use to get the most effect. So, and this is going to go into the item build as well, so we'll discuss that later. But for now, these are your general rules for using March, okay? Lane creeps, we're going to get rid of this graphic for a second. In fact, we're just going to shrink this down and put it right here, so you don't forget, right? Tinker cycle, TM. So, as a general rule, 1 maxed out March will kill any wave. Like, almost no matter the size, it will kill it. For the most part. So, and one or 2 creeps might be left at the end. Maybe. But it's not worth, and this is very important, it is not worth casting a second March just to get those 1 or 2 creeps. Because every extra March you're using is extra time that you're going to have to spend in the fountain. And less time you're going to be able to spend in the jungle. So, as a general rule, every blue circled camp, so like this camp right here, large camp here, medium camp here, this will take 2 marches. I don't know why I'm rearming, because it's WTF mode, but you might want to hit the creeps a few times too, right? But this will easily slaughter pretty much any large camp. Even the like golems that have magic resist will typically die to 2 marches. So that's very important. And you want to cast the marches perpendicular to the camps, remember, so the creeps run into them. And another thing you want to keep in mind is, and this is a mistake that I still make too sometimes, but gold is not the only thing you want on Tinker, right? You need levels, you need to hit your level timings. And so when you're marching a wave, try and time your TP so that as your TP is coming to the very end, and I messed that up a little bit there, but you get the gist, you want to collect the experience from the creeps just as your TP is going. So you're being as efficient as you can while still getting the experience. And that goes for jungle camps too, right? Like, I don't want to TP out. Like, I don't want to TP out before this creep dies. Because that's like 90 experience or something that I'm just missing out on. And I'm also missing out on the Madstone bundle. So you really don't want to do that in this patch. Right? You really, really don't want to do that. So that's the gist of how you're going to use March. So you want to minimize the amount of marches you're using, which is going to minimize the time you have to spend in Fountain and maximize the time that you spend in the jungle. Now with Ancient Camps. Ancient Camps, I've noticed, can take anywhere from like 3 to 5 marches. If it's a massive stack, probably even more than that. Like 6 or 7. And since they take so much on their own, you really don't want to have to march these camps early game. Because literally one trip to the Ancients, if you're like, in fact, let me change my loadout real quick. Let me go back to, oh, it's not going to let me like reduce my hero level. That's kind of annoying. Can I switch here? There we go. So let's just get like a decent idea of how much mana we're going to have, right? Let's say I have the Null Talisman. Let's say I have like a bottle, right? Let's, I think it's un-WTF. Yes, okay. So let's level to like level 7, right? So how many marches can I fire off at level 7 realistically, right? Like that's 1, 2, and I'm using all my bottle charges, all my mana. It's like 3 marches max before you have to go back to Fountain, right? 3 marches max. And that means you can cast 1 march here and 2 marches here and be fine. But it is not worth it at all to kill. And by the way, those were like the ancient Tormentor motherfuckers that no one likes, but you kind of like on Tinker because they have reduced magic resist. But like, if it were like these dragon guys, there's no way, like 3 marches isn't even going to kill these guys. So you want to stack these camps in the early game, and we're going to go over how to do that when I get into the game too. But you see, like, even the little ones are barely dying doing this, right? And this is just so inefficient, so much of a waste of time. You want to avoid marching Ancients unless it's a massive stack early game. If it's a huge stack, go ahead, go nuts. But you want to avoid this stuff early game if you at all can. Right? So that's the basics of March, right? We're going to get into using all of his abilities eventually. But for now, that's the basics of March of the Machines. And that's probably the most important part of Tinker. If there's anything you have to know to do on Tinker, it's to farm fast, get your item timings, and get rolling. So, next, we're going to go into a game, and we're going to discuss how to use our different spells in laning and fighting. And we're going to go over how to play fights and apply what I just taught you to like an actual game, right? So that's what we're going to do next. Alright, so I'm back, and now we're back in the game. And this is a game I played today. It was kind of a stomp on my part, but I definitely was like the deciding factor, and this is like the optimal way that you want games to go, right? So first things first, starting build. So, Quelling Blade, I think, is a necessity. It's a hot take, I know, but I think Quelling Blade on any mid hero that can clear camps is like a necessity this patch, and we're gonna like see why in the game. But as a general rule, Tinker is a pretty strong laner. So you've got like 7 armor, right? Your base damage is really good. You got decent health. You got a really good mana pool. Like, this hero's lane phase is actually kind of cracked. So as a general rule, unless you're playing against a mid hero like Lina or something, and Lina's a dead hero, so you don't have to do that. Like, you're not gonna have to play against that. Like Lina or Zeus or someone that's gonna bully you out before you can get your bottle really fast. you want to go a build like this. You can either go 2 circlets if you're worried about taking damage, or circlet, mantle, branch, something like that, or you can replace like a branch with a fairy fire, something like that. But generally you want to spend most of your gold on like stats, just so you can like out trade your laning opponent early game. That's what you want to do on Tinker. So that's the general rule for starting items. And going into the lane, we're going to see how we use this Quelling Blade, right? So we can fast forward through all this crap. I really don't care about this stuff. So first things first, skill build. You will be maxing March every game, and you'll always be getting at level 2, but level 1 you want the laser. So, I mean, I really don't want to have to go over the basics of every ability, because people probably know generally how these stuff works, but we'll do it anyway. So laser, pure damage, and gives them 100% miss rate. That's all you need to know until you get the AGS, then it's different, right? But for now, that's what it does. And since it gives 100% miss rate, it is one of the strongest laning abilities in the game, right? Because basically, it's kind of like OD in Prison, where every 19 seconds, you just get a free last hit or a free deny, or multiple if you use this right? Like if a creep gets low, and we're probably going to see this come into play soon. See, this creep gets low, I instantly laser that Prophet. So he misses that creep, and I get the free deny. Right? And that's how you want to use laser. You want to spam this off cooldown, and you want to frustrate them as much as possible. And whenever a creep is contested and you have laser off cooldown, you want to use it like that. So that's how you use laser in lane. So once you hit level 2, like, the world is your oyster, right? So once I hit level 2, I'm using laser to trade with him, right? I instantly walk up, and I cast the March. I put it on cooldown, and I cast March on top of the creep wave away from Prophet, so he has to run into as many drones as possible to get out of the March. Right? So it's a zoning tool. And it also just annihilates creep waves, even at level 1, right? Like, see how he has to like play the edge of the lane now and like can barely lane, and he's running through March to take a bunch of damage. So that's how you use March, and at level 3 I'm going to get another point in March. So now here's where the Quelling Blade comes into play. You can do this on both sides. Quelling Blade has reduced cooldown on you, which isn't the most important thing in the world, but that's something to keep in mind, right? So you can do this on both sides. You can do it here. It takes 2 trees here and 1 tree on Dire, but you cut these trees, it saves like 5 seconds off your stack time. So on the downtime, when I don't have creeps to farm, I go over here and use the Quelling Blade, and now, on the next minute marker, I can just walk right here and pull these creeps that way. And I don't miss a single creep doing that, because I did it in the downtime when March had already killed the wave. Use laser to secure that, just because it's big and annoying, right? Like, fuck that thing. This is pretty standard laning stuff. Prophet is pretty good at trading, so I'm trying to be like a little bit more conservative against him. I think he makes a mistake here and tries to deny that creep. No, he doesn't. Okay. There, I should have lasered him. That was a mistake on my end. So that's the gist of the laning phase, right? Like, let's try and get to where I stack the camp for the first time. So let's look at what I do here, right? If the replay wants to cooperate with me, let's look at what I do here. So here I cast the March to kill this wave really fast. And once this wave is dead, I basically have like free reign to do whatever I want until the next wave comes. So I'm going to walk over here and stack this camp. And since I already Quelling Bladed the trees early, you don't have to Quelling Blade it ahead of time. Like, I get here at 40 seconds. I could easily Quelling Blade these trees now and it wouldn't be a big deal, right? I just did it because why not? So this saves like 4 or 5 seconds having to walk around this way. Cutting a few more trees to make it a little easier for the creeps to path. Got my bottle already. And this camp pulls at about 55 seconds. And there we go. We miss about 1 lane creep doing that. 1 or 2. This time I missed 1, and that's totally worth. So that's the gist of the laning phase. Especially if you're getting bullied out, and it's a hero you can't really contest creeps against very well, like Prophet, you just want to be stacking camps like that instead. If it's a melee hero, you don't want to do it as much because you can like bully them a little harder. But in general, that's the gist of what you want to do. So here, let's see. So here I finish the wave off, and then what I opt to do is actually go and stack the Ancients. So I opt to stack the Ancients here because it's about the same time as going to that other camp. You will miss about one more creep doing this, but it's getting to the point now where it's hard. It's really hard to lane against this Natures because he has 2 stat items. I think he's universal too, right? Yeah, so he's universal, so he's got a bunch of like extra attack damage and stuff. He's got 2 stat items. He's got a giant tree that helps him, so I want to lane against him as little as possible while still getting as much as I can. So when you're getting like bullied out, or you don't feel comfortable laning, or you think you're not going to get a whole lot out of it, this is what you do. So you stack the triangle, and this is like doubling what you're going to get later, right? So let's fast forward. Let's go to when I get 6, because this is when the fun really begins, right? So first things first, always spam bottle and fountain, extra regen, right? So as a general rule, you want to start your TP to mid at either 40 seconds if it's this wave coming in, right? Or 10 seconds if it's the 15-second wave coming in. And that's a strict timing, and we're gonna like figure out why here in a sec. So I TP to mid, instantly cast 1. Well, actually I cast 2 here, I think, because it's level 3 March, so it's not guaranteed to kill creeps. So I cast 2 marches, and then after that, look where my mouse is, right? Look where I'm looking. Instantly TP to triangle. And this is a true combo, right? Every time this works. You cast marches, and you start your TP to here at around 49 seconds. You'll always get the stack off. So that's the combo you want right there. I don't get the big camp, unfortunately. So stack that camp. Opt to go back to fountain there because I really don't have anything else to do. I've already killed the camp, and I don't have enough mana left to kill the stacks, or kill these camps. So here, you can TP to this tower really easily and just walk here and take these camps. That's another reason Tinker's really good right now. I can take my stack now. And it should only take... It might take 3 because March is low level. I think I actually opt to cast a 3rd one here. I actually don't. So like even level 3 March can kill the Pinecone guys, which are like one of the most annoying creeps. And then I can walk to mid. And there's still leftovers of this wave here and another wave here. I have to double march that just because it's 2 waves, right? And then another TP, right?
Dyer's middle tower is under attack.
Another TP to that camp. I try to save my TP scroll because the TP scroll is like your oh shit button, where if someone cancels your TP, you literally just have a second TP. And these guys have literally like 1, 2, maybe 2 stuns to cancel a TP with. So this will save you a lot of the time if you hold on to your TP scroll. So that's the reason I'm just waiting for my null to regen me up so I can TP back to fountain. And I'm opting to manually... Oh, I know. I don't do that. Never mind. So yeah, I'm just waiting for my rearm to come back up on there. We are going to discuss item timings in a sec. So in general, this is going to be your farming pattern, right? You're gonna always kill this wave. If it's not stack time, you're going to go kill this right here. And this is mirrored on Dyer. And then you're going to kill this wave again, and then you're going to stack this stuff. And if an altercation happens where you think you can change the tide of it, you join that altercation, you like cast March and do whatever. But you're generally not going to want to do that because, and we're going to actually discuss that in the item section. So I'm gonna leave that for now. Right, so cast 1 March. Here they're like level 4, right, and they're diving tower like fucking maniacs. So I TP in because if I cast March going against them, they're all gonna get like fucking destroyed, right? Like this is the most insane shit I've ever seen, actually. So So yeah, I TP in here and I cast March, and I think we end up getting like 2 kills. Maybe 1? Yeah, I think it was actually only 1. But still, right? Like, I totally turned the tide to that just by casting March. And if your March is going to make a big difference like that, you want to use that to your advantage. So, then it's right back to the normal stuff, right? Back to farming mode. So, TP mid, cast the March, annoy Nature's Prophet a little bit, right? Posture myself aggressively because I know they can't really, like, punish this at all. And then just cast March slightly earlier as the creeps are running in. And then look at what I do. I instantly TP away here. And I should have stayed a little bit longer to get those creeps. I was a little concerned because I was like almost under tower and I didn't want Prophet to fuck with me. But, so yeah, now I've got 2 marches left over that I can use to cast on these bird guys, right? Cast on this double camp here. And then I can TP base. I can bottle up. And I can get back to this ancient camp in time to stack. I think I actually opt to go mid here. Yeah, okay, so I go mid. It might be a little late. I don't actually remember. Alright, so now it's time for small niche trick number 1. So once you have your Blink Dagger, it's actually quicker to TP to your tier 2 and just blink to this camp. It's like 1 second quicker, but it'll make the difference, right? TP to this camp and blink here instead of TPing to this because the TP is longer. So that's what I'm using here. I knew it was a little late, so I did that. I'm shift queuing that up. It might not actually work here. I don't actually remember if this stacks. No, I was a little late because the vision like kind of screwed me over, but that's the like general rule of it, right? That's the idea. So got that big ancient stack piling up. I think here I farm it, right? Maybe not. Okay, I guess no. I guess here I just go back to mid, keep farming. But I will farm that stack eventually. I go top again because I have my blink, so I'm a little bit stronger here. And like, look at my like March is just eating them alive, right? So I joined the altercation there because I know March is going to make a difference once again. And I guess now is probably a good time to take a break from the replay and get the item build worked out, right? So this is the item build that you're going to want to go pretty much every game. So bottle, of course, and then you want a null talisman. So I used to not go null, but then I saw Koifa do it and I did the math and it was like, oh, that's actually worth. So what null does is it makes sure that you can cast 1 extra march per fountain TP, which is definitely worth it for you. 2 isn't worth it, but 1 definitely is. So you want to get a null talisman. You want to get blink by 8 minutes as a general rule. I can get it faster, but as a beginner, you want to get it by at least 8 minutes. And then after your blink dagger, there you have 2 options. You can either go a Kaya first, or you can go an AGS first. So Kaya first is for farm speed. Kaya will massively boost your farm speed because it does more damage to creeps. Your March will, right? The spell amp. It gives you a ton of regen, and it also gives you a ton of like base mana pool, right? Which are the things you need on Tinker to farm. So if you're just farming, you go Kaya. But if your team is like absolutely getting their backs blown out and are like getting raped and crying because you're not helping them, then you absolutely just need to go in AGS first. And what's the cool thing is they both build out of the Staff of Wizardry thing anyway, right? So you can start with the Staff, and then if you change your mind, you can just go the AGS. But as a general rule, you want to go Kaya first because Kaya AGS is way faster than AGS Kaya because of what Kaya provides for you. So that's your general item build, right? And then after that, you can get all the juicy, delicious items that you might want to get otherwise, right? You get your, like, your Yashikayas, and I'm not going to go over, like, every single item you can get on Tinker because there's a billion of them, right? But these are your bread and butter items on the far right there. And as you play more Tinker games, you'll get a general idea of when you want to go what item. Just keep in mind that you want to get items to take advantage, of course, of your Eureka innate, which lowers the cooldown of all items basically by 60% eventually. So BKB has like a 30-second cooldown on you. Wind Waker has like a 6-second cooldown. Vice has 8. E-Blade has a low cooldown. Dagon, you can get off like 3 or 4 Dagons a fight easily. And so you want to get items that abuse that as much as possible. And we're going to see that in this game as well. So now, back to farm mode, right? I know there's a wave coming here, and this is another thing you're going to get good instinct of. You can use this wave to judge where this wave is. So this wave's right here. I know this because my wave is right here. So their creep wave is like right here. So I'm going to use that to defend the tower and farm this wave that's coming. And then I go mid because there's another wave mid, right? Grab the arcane, whatever. I think I'm going to end up using this arcane. We're about to see like an embarrassing Tinker Forge moment, actually. I'm going to kill myself to Ancients in a sec, but it's okay because I still win. And that's actually going to be my only death of the game too, which makes it like uber sad. But so yeah, we're going to end up like suiciding Ancients in a sec. Like I absolutely just get wrecked by Ancients. Okay, maybe it's... Yeah, okay, I skipped over the Ancient death. But basically, you once you're around this level, especially once you have Kaya, you can farm like Ancients and stuff. So this is... So let's bring up that map graphic again, right? Not the Tinker Cycle. Oh gosh, I'm like falling apart. Please help me. Okay. So once you have Kaya or Ags, these red camps are like your bread and butter. If there's a red camp available on the map that your carry's not going to cry at you for taking, you're there. You're not in the blue camps anymore because you don't need to be in the blue camps. You have so much mana now that it's actually worth it, and so much damage that it's like actually worth it to take the red camps all the time. And you'll see it, like I'm farming triangle pretty much every minute now. So first, I go to the lane creeps, right? No one is top. No one wants this farm. And I cast March in a way that farms this large camp and these creeps at the same time. And I think I cast 2 because the large camp needs to. Yeah. So, basically, you're not a hero, like, that's really strong. You're basically not a hero. You want the mentality of your hero does not exist until you have an Aghanim Scepter in your inventory. That's basically it. Like, you're not a hero. You can be a hero. You can play the game, but you want to think of it like you can't. Because that's going to build the best habits for you. So here, I think this is the stack. No, okay, I already farmed the stack. But see, now that I have Kaya, I can farm Ancients pretty quickly and like not cry about losing all my mana. It's actually pretty good. Sneak in a few lasers once your laser's max. It's 300 pure damage, right? Easy damage on the Ancients. Now I go Fountain. And this is going to be my pattern until I get Ags, basically. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. 17-minute Kaya Ags, guys. Like, what's my net worth? Like, look at this. This is what you can do on Tinker, guys. Like, I have 3 kills. Let's say I don't have these 3 kills. I still have, like, 9,000 net worth. At 16 minutes. Like, what's that in gold per minute? 578. Like, that's insane. And this is what makes Tinker so good right now, I think. And this is what makes, like, Tinker Masters crazy. So yeah, I'm actually fighting without the Ags here because my team is, like, going sicko mode. This is, like, whatever. So now I've got the Ags. And now we're going to discuss how to play fights. So basically your fights, honestly, are like any backline, like, mobile caster. Let's see if I can get a fight going here. Let's see if I can get to, like, a good fight. Show fight recap. Okay, that's not a real fight. Right? No, it's not a real fight. Let's see. Alright, so here's the fight. So I've got my Ags Aether Lens at this point. The thing that makes your hero, like, broken right now is that this got buffed from 10% to 15% max health as damage. So what that means is that shooting 2 lasers is like you were shooting 3 of the old ones. And it bounces between the heroes. It bounces to the nearest hero within 700 range. So basically, Drow's attack range with Dragonlance is the bounce range of this. So you see how, like, I literally melted her there. Like, I carved her to death. Like, let's look at the literally, like, 4. I thought it was 3 lasers that did that. But yeah, I carved her. I destroyed her, right? And this destroys tanks too because max health is damaged. So you want to cast your laser in a way that's going to always hit a hero. So that can mean like casting it on a creep so it bounces to a hero, or you want to angle it so it's going to hit 2 heroes. But basically just always spam laser as much as humanly possible and you will do damage. You'll nuke the whole screen. And always have your shield on you. So let's see if I can get like a good fight. Can I get like a good fight in here? Yeah, this was a good fight. Okay. Where does it start? I think it's here. Yep, so I see the axe TPing in, I instantly blink out of the way. And they're going to try and dive me here. And every rearm, put your shield back on you. Every single rearm. Every single one. So you can see here, I'm like trying to keep my way out of the fight as much as possible. As long as your shield is what's taking damage and not your hero, your blink won't be disabled as well. I accidentally left the thing up, but whatever, I don't care. I think you get the gist. We're gonna get another fight because I left the fucking infographic up. Alright, so this isn't really a good fight to go off of. I don't think that a lot ends up coming out of this. I mean, at this point, like, I'm like cracked out of my mind, right? Like, So basically in fights, you want to keep your distance. You want to play the very edge of the fight, especially when you're buying like an Aether Lens and stuff. And you want to spam as many lasers as possible. You can mix in a few marches to like cancel blanks and chase people away. But in general, your laser is like your bread and butter ability. Once you get the ags. So, and you can watch, like, I post replays on Tinker pretty regularly on my channel. At least I'm going to start doing that. And so you can watch those replays if you want to get like a more in-depth fight analysis, but this is more explaining how to get there on Tinker. Right? Now the last thing we're going to do is, let's go to heroes. We're going to explain like what Tinker works well with and what he doesn't work well with. So we're going to like create a custom layout. Wait, what? Why is this like the same as... Yeah, why is this the same as my mid pool? Like, I don't give a fuck about any of these things. Okay. So now we're going to explain like what are heroes that work well with Tinker and what are heroes that you don't want with your Tinker, right? So new category. We'll name this friends and foes, right? So heroes that work well with Tinker are big fat assholes that are going to make like space in the fight for you, right? So heroes that initiate with their body are really good because they don't mind just walking in and like face tanking shit. So like Tide is an example of one of these heroes. Sand King kind of can do that. Death Prophet doesn't mind doing that. Like, these are the kind of off-lane, big, beefy asshole heroes. Underlord. Heroes like this are going to enable you because they'll make sure that you have vision in the fight. And they'll, like, unleash, like, havoc and, like, stun people and shit. Necro is good, too. So these are the kinds of heroes in the off-lane category you want. For friends, support-wise, any hero with a stun. Like, literally. Like Lion, your Shadow Shamans. Shadow Shaman's especially good because you need Siege on Tinker, because Tinker can't siege towers, right? That's like his one weakness, actually. Not one weakness, but you know, that's a weakness. Timber Saw is a good offlaner, or the two, but basically any support with a stun is good with Tinker. And for your foes, it's people that can either get on top of you and buy a nullifier and like kill you, or it's like it's heroes with a lot of stun or gap close, right? So heroes that can reposition you, like Magnus and Venge. I'll still pick Tinker against these heroes, but it's like adds an extra layer of like pain and suffering to your game. And if you're just learning Tinker, like a counter like this can fuck you. Puck is a big one for you, although you don't see many Pucks around nowadays, at least in my games. Ricky is really bad in any position because of his smoke cloud. You might actually have to buy like a 4-staff or something against him. For carries that counter you, obviously anti-mage, right? Like, no questions asked, anti-mage counters you. PA is pretty good against you because she doesn't mind buying a nullifier and can jump on top of you very easily. Juggernaut is another one that you have to watch out for because his spin makes him immune, and he can also buy a nullifier easily. Lifestealer is kind of Lifestealer is a little different. This can go either way. Just because Lifestealer is broken as shit right now, so that's one reason he'll do well against you. But he buys nullifier, he goes magic immune, but he has no way of closing the gap against you. So if you have a team that's like occupying him, and you're sticking on the edge of the fight, like I said to, and you're casting your lasers, you'll be able to stall out his rage and eventually kill him. So that's good, right? That's good for you. Let's see, what other heroes like Dumpster Tinker? Like, heroes that you would think a Dumpster Tinker, but don't. So, like, we'll call this, like, fake counters. This is actually something I need to go over as well. So let's go back to Tinker real quick and let's look at what this does, because this is something that not a lot of people think about. Ran out of networkable entities. The fuck? I think like my game crashed because, oh my god, bro. I think I like left the replay on and like some weird bug happened. Hopefully we can get back in the game in a sec. Alright, so we're back. We're so back. I don't know what the fuck happened there. It must have been some weird replay bug, but one thing that will make you think certain heroes counter Tinker, but actually make them not counter him, is your translocator, which a lot of people forget this exists, like the people I play against. Like, they'll buy Orchid and not realize that, like, I don't give a shit about Orchid, right? Because when a self-defense matrix barrier on you is fully absorbed, you blink forward in a random direction, and it dispels you. It used to be a hard dispel, which is broken as fuck. It would, like, dispel most stun. Now it's just a basic dispel, and it blinks you forward. So, heroes like the fake counters, right? Heroes that you would think counter Tinker, but I will actually pick Tinker into, are like your Orchid buyers, right? Like Prophet, Death Prophet, not Death Prophet, Nature's Prophet. You don't actually mind playing against that. You don't mind playing against Slark, even though he has Pounce, because your shield will blink you out of his radius, right? You'll actually break Primal Beast's, you'll actually break Primal Beast's ult if your shield blinks you during it, which is funny. You will also not care about Earth Spirit because you'll dispel all of his stuff when your shield gets taken off. Other fake counters, Spec is kind of a difficult one. You can buy Lincolns on Tinker, and then Spec will just never touch you. But Spec also needs 2 items to kill you even without Lincoln. She needs an Orchid, and she needs a Nullifier. And even then, you might still live. Right? Because you can just TP out with your scroll. So Spec is another fake Tinker counter that's not actually a counter. So yeah, that's the... and of course, like, you can put Pugna here just because there's his like stupid little ward. You don't have to deal with that. But yeah, so this is like the general rule. You want like big fat assholes that will make space for you and stun for you, so you can do all your damage. And you want like on the enemy team, you don't want to have to deal with any of these heroes. But if there's one or two of these on the enemy team, like I'll still pick Tinker into it. So those are general guidelines for Tinker, guys. So just to refresh, March of the Machines, we covered how to effectively use that. We covered how to play the lane effectively, and we covered how to we covered how to play fights, and we covered the friends and foes, right? And if I go to battle stats, guys, like Tinker feels easy mode this patch. He really does. Like, let's look at my Tinker games this patch. The patch, I think, came out on the 20th, maybe? And look at my games since then. Like, literally. Since the patch came out, I think it's like 90% win rate on this hero. And it's not usually like that. I sit at 60% usually. So, yeah. Now is a time to learn Tinker. If you want to learn Tinker, now's the time. And if they ever bring back item rearm, I will make a new guide for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found some value out of it. I know it's a long one, but I think it's worth it, because Tinker is a very like in-depth hero that has a lot of subtleties to him that you want to be able to cover, right? You want to cover all your bases with this hero. And if you don't do it correctly, you can easily just grief the game away, because Tinker is a very delicate hero that you need to have mastery in. And just for the record, I have like 1,700 Tinker games, so like I kind of have this down, right? And he's not for everyone. But at the end of the day, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found some value of it, and I will see you guys in the next one.